Well, surprise. I don't know why I say like that people watch these fucking things, but never mind. But I'm tentatively back now. I didn't mean to take so long off, but I was I was courting for a little while, a nice lady. Unfortunately, she didn't think I was nice enough, so but she had somewhat different political beliefs to me, which isn't a detriment to her. But I was terrified that I was going to say something on a video and it was going to spark off an argument, and I was spending a lot of time with her because she lives quite a way away. So that's my excuse for not posting for 6 months. And then obviously she gave us a Spanish Archer, and I was a bit upset. So what can you do? But anyway, I want to get back on the saddle, so to speak, and I believe one of my last videos, apart from the abortion one, is concerning the race swapping and like general racial and social politics in entertainment, which is going doolally tat from all I can see. We've got the Woman King coming out. Obviously, that's not a race swap. We've got the Little Mermaid, who, by all intents and purposes, has been working on a tan. And it's just there's a few more, but you get the idea. And I was gonna look into how often the race swappings went the other way. It's you don't have to go far to find it, but I get stuck into that. The Queen's dead, God bless her. I'm no great royalist, but I will say it right now that anybody who suddenly decided to snipe at King Charles now, when his mother's just died, I personally think you're as low as an ant's nuts. The poor bastard's mother's dead. He's got a new job. As somebody that works at, he probably just wants to sit in his comfies and have a good cry. But he had that great big state funeral, which I didn't watch. I made sure they got Betty down the stairs. You know, them six poor blokes. God, they must have been knackered at the end of that. But anyway, so that's happened. Liz Truss is in charge. We finally got rid of Boris. I do try not to judge people immediately. I didn't have a great deal of time for Boris. I can't really put my finger on anything in specifically, apart from obviously he's somehow, even though he looks like a fat version of it, he managed to get his leg over behind his wife's back. Which I don't, which is as abhorrent as it is incredible. And yeah, so if there's any amount of stuff to dabble in, I'll set my thoughts straight and then start thinking them. I have, as a bit of a sort of mission statement, have to say that I've always tried to, for this, third of videos, I've always tried to demonstrate more how I would come to a conclusion rather than to demonstrate one conclusion somebody else should come to, because I've always thought the thought process is more important. Like, it's not more important than the outcome, but it is the seed of the outcome. I suppose it's a little bit like planting a garden or going down the forests and getting a bouquet, isn't it? You know which one will last longer, and you know which one's worth more and will do more good, or which one's just for sure. It's not a bad argument, but yes, but it is a general thing that I do try to consider things, and I don't delve too deeply into them. Like, I mean, I have very little time for British politics. I get quite a bit of information off my friends, of whom also I don't have share many political beliefs, as in, but all thought Boris was a twat. which, frankly, you don't have to go far to find somebody who thinks that. I must admit, I've had more interest in the American politics purely because it's recreational, because it's not happening to me. And I used to watch Joe Rogan quite a bit, and he used to talk about that quite a bit. And then you've got that Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris. You've got this mess that's going on in Martha's Vineyard, and that is a great example of why I like to put these videos out, is that I heard of Martha's Vineyard from a friend of mine, and the information he was getting completely differed from the information I gained from my news feeds, because obviously he seems to lean more to the left, which is odd, because he did actually vote Boris in because he didn't think Jeremy Corbyn was up to being a prime minister, and he may well have been right. It doesn't mean Boris was up to being a prime minister, but Corbyn seriously had some issues, bless him. I don't think one of them was malice, don't get us wrong, it's just, yeah. But it seemed to him that they were framing Martha's Vineyard as a victory for the left, because they said that these immigrants are welcomed with open arms, and it was an illegal bus trip or plane trip or whatever it was. And the guy had to borrow some from Texas, so Florida couldn't have had that many in, like illegal immigrants in, so he hasn't proved his point at all. Whereas the very scant information I gained told a very different tale about elitist left-wingers kicking off over these, these Mexicans and whatever being dumped on their doorstep. And obviously, whereas the two aren't really mutually exclusive, because you can probably have a couple of twats and a couple of nice people, it does suggest exactly how fucked up news services are these days. I must admit, when I went onto the news to look at it, I skipped Fox News entirely. Not because I have any particular prejudice against Fox News, it's just I know Fox News supports the right wing, and whereas again that isn't a detriment to them per se, and you find well that their story would support the right wing rather than just look at it and be impartial. And it should be impartial, and it should trickle down to us being impartial, but we're not, because my friends are very, they will go after who the left is going after, because that's the news that they receive. And perhaps I slipped for going after whoever the right is after, because that's the news I received, because I started watching Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan has a lot of right-wingers on, even though Joe Rogan himself proclaims that he is mostly left-wing. And I believe him, he doesn't really have a reason to lie. But it's ridiculous that these lines are drawn. It's ridiculous that there was actresses or actors, excuse me, I don't know what to call people anymore, who are saying if you don't watch a film, you're basically saying that you don't think black women can run a film and therefore you are racist. And I'll be bluntly honest, if there was anything going to put me off watching a film, it's The Woman King again. It's statements like that. I remember once when I was a security guard, I had 3 lads causing bother, and I more or less told them it was get out, the leave with me or the leave with the police. And they were leaving, and the first thing he said was he basically gives some signs that he knew who I was and stuff like that, and he said if I called the police I'd be dead. So I wasn't going to call the police, but as soon as he said that, I did it just to spite him. I mean, the police were useless, but whatever. And it's like that. I think a lot of people are not going to watch it out of spite now. And I think I'm one of them, frankly. What else? There was something on the critical drinker pertaining to the that people are being deliberately baited, and I'd sort of come to a bit of a conclusion on that, and then of course he, who is a professional, for lack of a better term, I don't know if he class himself as a professional film critic. He certainly gets paid to criticise films on YouTube, and he's certainly good at it. And he basically said, we're being baited. They'll get an actor in who is an ethnicity, a minority, where once somebody was played by a white person, and then they will basically say that if you don't like this film, you're racist. And then of course offered kicks. I'm part of a Facebook group, and the amount of memes we've had about the Little Bloody Mermaid, it's staggering how much this seems to affect people. Whereas I don't know. And again, I mean, firstly, shaming you if you let something like that get to you. It's a film. It's a child's film. But, and the actress, obviously, I mean, I don't know who she is. Actually, when they said Halle Berry, I thought it was her who played Storm, and I'm like, well, what's she doing playing the Little Mermaid? She's over 40, and somebody's like, no, it's the other Halle Berry, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know there was two, which shows what I know. But, I mean, she's not going to knock it back, is she? I mean, like, she'll be laughing all the way to the bank. But then, of course, they've probably warned her, don't worry, people are going to be racist here. They're right, but it's I mean, it's a clusterfuck. People have fallen for a very obvious trap that they shouldn't have, but it does not diminish the point that it is a trap. And then we've got the Woman King. I can't comment on the film. I find it interesting that they decided to concentrate on a tribe that, or a nation rather, whatever the correct word is, that is apparently quite well known to have been slave traders themselves, and call it the Woman King. And it's like they want people to kick off. They want people to run around and complain to the high heavens about it. And the title itself, the Woman King, they could have easily called it the Warrior Queen. You know, I mean, I know the default is king is higher than queen, and then if I have a queen that's in charge, it's a prince. I know there's a bit of a default that king is technically higher than queen. Maybe the language around that will change at some point. But this King Thor rubbish. It's I mean, I suppose the best thing to come out of it is it has started the conversation. But I want to look into all of these things. I'll get back to that race swapping thing next video. I will get around to that. But yeah, there's certainly a lot to think about these days. So and partially think about. Anyway, I hope that hasn't been too much of a ramble. I am guilty of that. So until next time,